Hello friends! Today I want to share a few strategies that I use to reduce my railway hosting costs. If you have watched any of my tutorials, I always say that you need the hobby plan to deploy my deploy templates. And I also say that the cost of the hobby plan is $5 per month. But if you have used them, you may find that the $5 price tag is exceeded, and that can be because your project is using more resources than what is included with the $5. So as you see here, I have a few projects, and some of them, and we're not even at the end of the month yet, but they already exceeded the $5. And you can see at the estimate that by the end of the billing period, then this one would be $9 and this one would be $12. So they vastly exceed the $5. But there are some strategies to reduce the cost, and I want to show those to you. So I'll go to my dashboard and I pick out one of my projects that are exceeding, and that would be the Vendure official. So I will go first into the settings and then go to the usage. Then we get a breakdown of the usage of this current project. And we can see that the memory is estimated to be $4 and the CPU is estimated to be $9. This is not a lot, but there is ways that we can reduce it. The first way is to enable app sleeping, and you might or might not want to do this. So the scenarios where you might want to turn it on is if you're in development phase and you don't have active end users on your platform. Because when you turn on app sleeping, what will happen is that after some inactivity, it will spin down the server instance, and then you'll not be charged memory and CPU. But when traffic is needed, so when a user wants to enter your service, it's sleeping, and that means that they will experience wait time. So if you need users to rapidly access your services, then do not turn on sleep mode. But if you're in development phase, then you can safely turn it on. I'll show you how to. So we go to the canvas, and then you simply have to select each of the services one by one. I'll start with the front end and go into settings, and then we scroll down quite a bit. Here it is, app sleeping. And if you want to know more about what exactly it does, you can click on the docs and read about it. But once you turn this on, after I believe it is 30 minutes of inactivity, it will offload the RAM and the CPU on the railway servers, and then you will not be charged for usage. Then I'll go to the backend, next, and scroll down. Enable app sleeping. And I believe you can do it for the database as well, though I have never tried doing it, but let's just try it. App sleeping. Yeah, so now I've turned on sleeping for all of them. And then I hit deploy. This might take a while. Okay, I am back. It didn't take that long, less than 2 minutes. And what you'll see now is that they are still running because they haven't been inactive for half an hour. So I scroll down, and what we want to see is that sleep mode is turned on. I believe I do have a project that is currently sleeping, so I can show you what it looks like when they are sleeping. That would be Sweet Passion, I believe. Yeah, so here you see this one has been sleeping for 2 months. So this is a demo project that I used to shoot another tutorial video, and no users need to access the storefront, so I have simply put it to sleep mode. And let's go to the usage, and you can see the usage is almost nothing. It have used a little bit of memory. I'm not sure where that comes from. I believe it would be the database instance that used, because that is not sleeping. And I have actually zero cost in CPU. So I'm not been charged anything on CPU whatsoever. If you put it to sleep mode but a user needs to access it anyway, this is still possible. I'll show you what that looks like. So I click on the URL, and then they're stuck with a loading screen, and this, when they start entering your website, Railway is spinning up a virtual machine to host your app, and that took about half a minute, and then gets the server internal error, and that's because my backend is completely turned off. But you see now it's active again. So the load time of your web page will be extremely slow. The first user will experience at least half a minute of load time before they will get into your app. And in this case, it was an error because the backend is turned off. But this is a very good way to reduce server cost for projects that don't need users accessing your services all the time rapidly. Yeah, there's another way that you can reduce cost completely if you want to, let's say, pause a project, but you don't want to delete it completely. So maybe you have configured a lot of environment variables, and you might want to spin up this project half a year later, but you don't want to pay for it being in sleep mode, because if users are entering it, you will be charged. There is also this case where web crawlers like search engine indexers, they will access your public URL, and they will actually trigger your instance to be live, and then you'll be charged for that. So the scenario where you want to take your project completely offline, there is also a way to do that without losing everything. And the way you do that is that you go to the latest deployment, that is the live one, and then you simply remove it. So when you click this remove, let me do it on a project of mine where we can get it up and running again. So I'll go back to the Vendure official, and I now want to park this for half a year, and then maybe I want to use it later, but I don't want anybody to be able to access it and trigger server costs. So I'll go into my backend, and I want to simply remove the active deploy. So I click on the three dots, and then I click remove. And one thing you need to know before you do this is that you cannot just get this back easily with a button click in the user interface. You can get it back, but what you need to do is trigger a new deploy, and the only way you can do that is by committing to Git. I don't know of any other way to do this, and I haven't been able to find any other way to do it. You can redeploy an old build, so this one will stay, and you can simply click. Oh, I didn't hit the button here. You can click redeploy, but then you're redeploying an old build, and you might want to redeploy the latest build, which you just removed. So I will remove this build. And it's gone now. And if someone clicks here, there will just be nothing. They won't start my service. So I cannot be charged any cost from this one. We can do the same on the storefront. Remove it. Now this is also gone. You cannot do it with the database. Well, you can. If you remove this, you'll lose all of your data because it completely removes the Docker instance where all your data is saved. So if you want to keep your data in your database, do not remove this. But if your database doesn't contain a whole lot of data, then the hard disk usage cost for having the database just idle like this is very little. If you have a massive database with loads of gigabytes of data, then it will cost something to have it idle. But this one will cost nothing. But now it's been half a year, and I want my project to come live again. So how do I do that? This one new file structure is an old build, so I could redeploy this one, but I want to have the latest source code. So what you need to do, if you don't already have a local instance of your Git repository, you need to find the source repo. I'll click it here. And you want to clone it locally. Demo. Go into demo, open VS Code. terminal, and we need a git change in order to commit anything. So I will just find any file that here is a comment, and I'll just put a dot in the comment, a git status. Oh, I need to save the file, of course. Git status. There is no change. Let's add the change. New build. And I will push it. Let's head back to Railway and deployments. And now you see we are deploying new build in the backend and new build in the storefront. Let me just pause. And I am back. They are now deployed with latest source code, and see the storefront. And here is the web shop, the storefront. It is up and running again. I believe we have app sleeping turned on. Let me just verify. Yeah, we have app sleeping turned on as well. So now you know how to turn on app sleeping and how to completely take down deploys if you wanna like put a project offline for a long period of time and don't want it to be reactivated by any visitors or web crawlers or anything like that. But there is also the scenario where you do need your project to be up and running all time and rapidly accessible by any user. And there's still some things that you can do to save costs. So if we go back into the overview on my Railway Vendure project, and we scroll a little bit down, there is also this network egress. And this is actually responsible for quite a bit of the cost. And at first I didn't understand exactly what it is, but after reading a little bit, I understand that it is communication between the internal services if the network request leaves Railway's internal server and goes onto the public network. So in my case, my backend and my Postgres database, they are talking with each other. Also, when the system is just idle, I'm not sure why it is that Vendure needs to read into the database on a scheduled basis, but I could imagine it is to be in sync with data in the database that might come in from other microservices. So what's happening is that the backend is pinging the database and getting a response. And right now it's doing it by sending a request to the public network. So it's leaving the Railway server building and going onto the DNS provider, and is routed back into Railway and routed to the database. And this is using bandwidth on Railway's internet service provider, which they pay for, and therefore you also pay for it. So can we eliminate that? And it turns out that you can. It is possible to make the backend talk directly to the database without making the request on the public network, but just do it internally. So the request would just be routed through some Ethernet cable in Railway server infrastructure, or maybe even it's maybe your database and your backend is hosted on the same physical server machine, and then the request is just routed on the server software internally, and then you don't pay for it. And I didn't know how to do this, but don't you love it when a solution just comes out of the blue? And that happened in this case. So on my GitHub repository for the Vendure boilerplate, which is public and is used by quite a few people to spin up the full stack that I just showed before. If you have used my boilerplate up until now, you will be paying network egress on a linear increasing scale throughout the entire billing period. And it can be as much as, I believe, $5 or $6 per month just in unnecessary network requests. And this person here posted a solution how to get rid of it, and attached a screenshot where you can see that the graph stopped at this point, and this is when this person introduced the private networking configuration, and it turns out to be extremely simple. So I'll show you how it's done. You need to copy a few environment variables, so PG private port, so Postgres private port, and that needs to be added to the database. So I'll go into the variables and add a new one, and the name is the private port, PG private port, and the value is 5432. This is just the default Postgres port, I believe. And I'll add it. I actually already added it. I'll override it just for the sake of this demonstration. So it should now be down here, and you'll get a message saying a change you need to deploy. But I didn't because I overrode a change that was exactly the same. Then you need to add db host and db port, and they should point to the respective values from the Postgres service. So let me just move this one over here, and let's keep this one here. So I target the backend and go to variables, and I'll add two new ones, db host, and I can copy the value from here. I will make sure to copy and paste these two into the video description, so you can just copy paste them from there. I'll add, and again, I already have them because I added them earlier. Okay, this time it actually says that there is a change to deploy. I'll add the other one as well, the port, and oh, I think I know why it says there's a change, because I accidentally copied one chart too much. So I'll add this one, override it, and we should have just one change. So I did a mistake before. Let me just full screen this. So this one, nope, this one was right. This one was right. Edit. Yeah, here it is. I had a quote that shouldn't be there. Then you deploy the changes, and when you are back with green check marks, you can go into your usage. And I did it a few days ago to test, and I see here that my network egress stopped increasing. So it will stay on 43 gigabyte of network bandwidth usage for this billing period, and then when the next month comes and we reset, it should stay on 0, and I will not be paying any network egress going forward. So that's a great way to save cost if you accidentally have any railway project that is routing communication between services onto the public network that could be routed internally. And for the Vendure application, it was done by adding db host and db port, but you might have other projects that use different variables to be configured. So I cannot say that you cannot do this with any kind of project on Railway, but this work for this particular configuration is how you set up internal routing between these two services for a Vendure backend. If you did not use my deploy template before this video, but want to do it, then you don't need to worry about any of that, because I changed the template so it already includes these environment variables. So I'll just go to the blog post where you find the deploy tutorial. It is here. I'll also leave a link to this tutorial in the video description. It also comes with another video showing you exactly what you need to do. But I will scroll down to the deploy on Railway button, and I'll click it, and I'll click deploy now, and then I will click configure here on the backend just to show you that I added the db host and the db port, And if we scroll down to the Postgres instance, you'll see that I already added the PG private port. So using the template going forward, you can just click deploy and you'll not be paying network egress. But if you deployed the project before this video, or before a few days before this video, then you'll have to do manually at the variables that I just showed. Okay, I hope that this helped you save cost on your railway hosting. That's all for now. Bye.